Today on Tanium Tech Talks, we're talking about what's new in Tanium Enforce, enhanced policy management for Windows, and USB removable storage management. Welcome back to Tanium Tech Talks. I'm your host, Ashley McGlone, and it's been a minute since we've gotten some shows out. I tell you why, because we're actually queuing up several shows of new releases that we want to get out to you in the right timing. So we are excited. There's a lot of new things coming out right now. We saw a big hit kind of around Converge a few months ago, and now we're seeing even more come out in the next wave following Converge. And so we've got several shows we want to show you what's happening. Part of that is a lot of new innovation in the area of our Enforce module. Now, our guest today is Kofi, and Kofi has been on the show before, actually. So this is his second time on the show, but Kofi has a new role. Kofi, welcome to the show, and tell us a little bit about what you've been up to lately.
I'm Kofi Atarifi. As Ashley said, I've been on the show before. I am now a technical product manager. And so in this role, I'm partnering with our engineers, to make sure that we are covering all of our bases in terms of our customer needs. So things like user experience, making sure that we have the proper configurations and tools, right? Making things pretty seamless for our users. So it's really exciting getting to partner with the engineering team and also talk to customers and give them a kind of an understanding as to where we are, where we're going, and making sure that they have the best experience possible when using our tools. So, yeah.
So Kofi is one of our Mac experts here at Tanium. He's got a really interesting background with that, but actually he's here today to talk about Windows policy management and USB removable storage. So we're going to talk about some features that are in your console now. And Kofi, I hope you can catch us up here. What have we missed recently that's happened in the world of Enforce?
Yeah, man, we have a lot of things to show, man. It's been really exciting. One of the things that we've realized, and I think a lot of people have realized this, is over the last couple of years, the one thing that we've all witnessed is an increase in the workforce going remote, right? And so what we're starting to understand, or we understood back then, but making sure that it's more clear now, is admins have a hard time applying policies to the endpoints and then getting feedback as to whether or not those policies have been applied, right? And so what we want to do is make sure that we don't care where the endpoint is, right? If the endpoint is in an Active Directory forest or the Amazon rainforest, right? It doesn't matter. We want to make sure that these endpoints are taken care of. Starting with our two major features. One is enhanced policy management for Windows. And what that does is it introduces a new policy application method to enforce. And then we also have a new policy type that we support, so security policies. And what we're looking to do is just make sure that our admins can push policies down to the endpoints and get feedback on them and sleep at night knowing that, hey, there's no configuration drift in my environment, right? What we set has actually set, and we don't have to worry about checking up on this frequently. And maybe it's something that you just cannot afford to have in this industry. So to kind of talk about what we've introduced, we have a configuration service provider. So that's support there. And what that is that's a Windows 10 built-in component, or introduced in Windows 10, I should say, that allows you to set configuration settings, read them, and apply them on endpoints. What this really does and really allows us to do is to make sure that that our users are able to administrate their environments without having to worry about whether or not their users are connected via VPN or they have line of sight to their DCs. So very, very interesting, and it's something that we're really excited to bring to the table.
So if I were to condense that for our audience, I would say, think about all the capabilities you get from Tanium. All I need is an internet connection, and that machine is managed. So think about that in respect of group policy, right? We're not throwing shade at group policy. I mean, it's been around for 20 years. It's done a great job for 20 years, but now you don't have to worry about domain membership. That machine can be anywhere in the world without VPN connection. And as long as it's got an internet connection, it's going to get those policies.
That's correct.
And it's going to get them quickly. And you can know that those settings are there. So that, yeah, that's a big deal. Why don't you show us what that looks like?
Yeah, for sure. So let's dive into configuration service provider and also security policies. So we'll start with going to modules. We'll dive over to our policy configurations. And so you'll see a list of all of our policies. We'll create a new one, and we'll just call this, let's say, Tanium CSP. Cool. All right, we'll dive down to our policy types, and I'll start off with machine administrative templates. And then one of the things to note is there's an icon, right? I don't know if you can see it right now on the screen, but I'll zoom in if we can. This right here, applied via CSP, first supported in version 1703. So this is telling you that this policy type, this ADMX policy setting, can be applied via CSP. And that's important to note because not all policies have a GPO equivalent, but for the ones that do, you'll see this icon. It'll give you the very first version that it was supported in Windows. And so you'll see that if I were to go here and say I need to prevent enabling locking the screen for slideshow, right? This is going to make sure that this entire policy is set via CSP. And in the event that I have a domain level group policy that actually has this set to disabled, right? What's going to happen there is it's actually going to take precedence, and that's going to allow us to have control over that endpoint. Now, one of my favorite buttons of Enforce, and I'll show you here, we'll actually get rid of this one here, is our anti-malware specific settings, right? And what this does is this allows Tanium to take over the definition updates for anti-malware. So using Microsoft Defender, what we're actually doing is we're polling Microsoft on a regular basis, seeking their cadence with a cadence and saying, all right, we're going to manage those definitions for you so that you don't have to worry about are my endpoints, do they have the most recent signatures, the most recent definitions? In addition to that, are each of the endpoints reaching over the WAN to get those definitions? No, we manage all of that for you, right? So we'll give this, we'll allow Tanium to manage the definitions. We're going to automatically also create some exclusions for Tanium processes. So what you'll see here is there is a bulk load of exclusions that we can just go ahead and apply without you having to press anything else but that button. So tying that back to CSP, right? This also allows us to apply it via CSP. So all of these exclusions that we have, right, will be applied via CSP and will take precedence over anything that you already have set on the endpoint. That's extremely exciting here because this allows us to, if you've worked with group policy and you're trying to manage the exclusions and you have some coming from here, you have some coming from there, right? There can be conflict, right? Where we're trying to identify, right, who's the boss here, right? But with us applying with via CSP, that's no longer an issue. Whatever is set via Tanium is what's going to stick and apply to the endpoints. Now, this is pretty awesome, right? Because I can, like I said, create this policy, target to a subset of endpoints, and get immediate feedback as to whether those policies have applied. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do that here today. But I'm going to come back to this because there's an extremely cool portion of this that I definitely have to talk about. So we'll create this exclusion policy. I'm going to go ahead and hit enforce. And we'll just call this enforcements. Probably exclusion enforcements. All right. I'll select some enforce endpoints that I have in my group. And cool, perfect. So we'll see a number of machines, right? You get a preview before you apply it. So you're not just doing this blindly. You get to see what's being applied before you hit the button. And we'll go ahead and we won't give this a schedule because we need this to run right now. All right. And
now hold on. All right. I got to pause you right there, man. All right. I'm a classic GPO guy. right?
Go ahead.
So I know when I send down GPOs, set them up in Active Directory, it's going to
Yeah.
be 90 minutes plus or minus 30 for the randomized offset, right? For them to apply. But then here you're telling me that I can pick a time that the policy starts and ends on the endpoint.
That's
That's a
correct.
new trick.
Yeah. So if you wanted to wait and say, all right, hey, I need this to actually happen on Wednesday, right? I have a change window for this. You can do that then. But if you want to do it right now, and I'm not talking about like not now, but right now, right? You can do this with the run now option, and this will actually happen fairly quickly. Like the most time I've seen this apply take time is maybe 20 minutes, right? So it's not a long period of time. If you want to also put an end time on it, you can and say like, hey, no longer apply this enforcement after this time frame. But yeah, it's fairly fast. So we'll go ahead and hit create. And so this is going to apply to these endpoints, and it's going to happen, like I said, fairly quick. But one of the things that I want to note is this is an extremely important piece. It's a fallback method, right? So we're going to try to apply this via CSP. You see these endpoints, they're saying not applied right now. And then what's going to happen is they're going to turn and they're going to show as applied. But we'll dive back into this and I'll show you here shortly. It's a fallback method. This fallback method, what this introduces is in the event of any type of CSP failure, right? Let's say we try to apply it and for some reason or the other, it just did not get applied to the endpoint at that moment in time. It's going to try the backup method, the fallback method, which is back to LGPO. So in the event that we've tried via CSP, there's a failure for some reason or the other, we're going to try again via local group policy. In the event of failure, we'll give you the status as to why that has failed. But let's say it does apply. That's great, right? You're glad that it has applied. But what's even better is on the next reapplication cycle, it's going to retry CSP again. So if anything, you would have maybe a small window of time where it's applied via local group policy, but retries to do it via CSP on the next run. So that's very interesting because I don't know too many tools that have a fallback method. If this then that, right? And that's really awesome to see here.
So to be clear there for folks, so as Tanium's method of enforcing policy today, it was primarily, before this, it was just a local group policy, which could get overwritten by the domain policies, right? But now what we're saying is we can also enforce it with CSP, which is a trump card that says, if you're getting policy from somewhere else, I don't care, you're going to take this over top of that. So so what we're saying is if for some reason the CSP doesn't work, we can fall back to the local GPO version of the setting. Now, I know I'm conscious of the time here. I know we got to keep moving, but I think you told me there's a new policy type. Is that right?
I did. Yeah. Let me show you that. So we'll head back to policy configurations, and I'll show you right now what we have. So I have one that's already here. So you might see it under security settings, right? Let's just dive into this and I'll show you. So in addition to the new policy application method, we also have the ability to apply security policies to endpoint, right? So thinking about account policies, local policies, advanced audit policies, right? These advanced audit policies allow us to audit actions that are being done on our endpoints, right? So it makes a lot of sense to be able to say, all right, hey, I need to understand, the log on, log off failures. If I've had any endpoints that may have been locked out, right? Somebody attempted to log into the machine. We're able to set these settings so that you can consume them later, right? Maybe you're sending this off to a SIM somewhere, or maybe you want to take a look at the events. You can access all this information. You can set these configurations with Enforce, and that makes it a lot easier than to be able to have to do this and not get feedback on it anywhere else. So there's a lot of settings here that we can manage, but this is advanced audit policies. Taking a look at account policies. You want to set up account lockout policies, right? You can do that. You want to set up password policies for your environment. You can do that. One thing to note, you see this right here. Some of these also support policy application method of CSP. So not only are you able to apply these and apply these new security policies, but you're also able to apply some of them via CSP, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, let's pause for a second there. So,
yeah,
if you're again thinking classic group policy, you expand the tree of types of controls in group policy there, the administrative templates, all that. One whole section was security policy, which Tanium formerly was not able to manage. Now we can.
Correct.
Then when you're doing your compliance scans with Tanium and you see things that are not configured in the environment, like account password length and things like that, now you can set those up here to remediate that with Tanium.
Correct. That's it. Just to give you an example, right? Like interactive logon, right? Setting this with CSP. There's also a security setting, right? Do I want to restrict and audit incoming NTLM traffic? I can do that here as well. So it's very we have a lot of settings, and it doesn't stop here, right? So there's a lot of things that are also in the background, but I'll save that for the next time, actually. But yeah, so you can set these security settings and also get feedback on from these get feedback on these endpoints, whether or not they've properly been applied to the endpoint. So I'm looking at Kerberos, you're looking at password policies. If you have any local policies that you're trying to set, user right this time. I know this has been a big ask for some of our customers, so fairly exciting to see. But diving back to the security options, right? Like device allow undock without having to log on. These are a lot of things that people have been asking for some time, and I'm just really glad that we're able to make sure that their needs are being met with Tanium and Force.
Yeah. Now, I know I'm watching the clock here. So we have a new set of policies, and I want to kind of branch over to the USB removable storage stuff, because I'd like you to clarify for our audience. We're giving them the ability now to do USB removable storage policy management, which has been around in the industry for a long time, but there's like a GPO version of this. Tanium had a version of it as well. So what's different with this new USB removable storage policy stuff that we're doing?
Granularity. That's what's big, what's different, right? So this is in-house built, in-house managed. Our engineering team, went to work with this, and it's absolutely amazing. Let me show you. I actually have a policy here. So I'll click this and give you a quick hint. So what this is we have removable source access controls. And I'm not sure, how many of our users are familiar with this, but you've heard the term rubber ducky, right? Right. So these USB devices come in with payloads, right? I found a gift card at Best Buy on the floor, and it had it was a $50 gift card, and on the back there was a USB gift card. Whoa, hey, I might want some, more where this came from, right? What this does is this allows us to block USB removable storage devices, right, from actually mounting to your endpoint. And the reason why that's extremely important is because some of these devices may show up as keyboards. They may show up as something else that your machine may automatically try to mount, and then there goes the payload, right? It's already gone to work in less than 30 seconds. And so in terms of data exfiltration, right, creating backdoors, creating persistence on these endpoints, that's how some of these new pieces of malware, these bad actors are doing is they're creating unique ways, and one of those pieces is social engineering via USB devices. So when you look at what we've built a policy type that allows you to block all USB removable storage devices, right? With a couple of settings. So by default, the policy has a block all on all USB removable storage. So think about if you're in a warehouse somewhere and you don't want somebody bringing down your plant fairly quickly, or let's say that there's somebody at home that I have tons of USB devices at my house and I don't know which one is which, right? So for me, I think it's a little bit more safer. This is a controlled environment, but if you have users that are just unknowingly plugging USB devices that they get from a friend or what have you, we want to block everything unless you approve it, right? So what this does is this allows us to say, all right, I'm going to create a policy, and this is an exception rule. So this says we're going to allow read-only access from this removable storage device that meets this specific criteria. Now, I want you to take a look at these attributes because there's a lot of them. You have the device instance path, parent instance path, device path, friendly name, device description, serial number, USB vendor ID, USB product ID, right? You can select a number of these attributes, right? Select an operator and just say, all right, hey, I need this to equal this value. I don't have a device instance path off the top of my head right now, but we can use like a friendly name. We'll just say, hey, we're going to call this USB disk drive because that's how some of them will come up. This is going to match to an endpoint is going to match to a device somewhere. We'll hit apply, and then we'll have a parent instance path right here, which is going to block via is going to allow via this rule. So this endpoint that we have right here, this device is going to use this parent instance path to allow this device access to your machine. Now, where this gets really, really exciting is you can do multiple settings at once. You want to do it, you want it to be and, you want it to be or. So if you have, let's say, 1,000 serial numbers, right? You can go ahead and say, all right, I want to get a range of serial numbers, right? A range of devices. So we can say it starts with, it ends with a number between this, it contains this. This accepts wildcards, right? So you can use the question mark, you can use the asterisk. And this is going to just allow you to be able to apply these policies to your endpoints and make sure that they're safe, because if it doesn't exist on this list, it's blocked. It's not going to touch your machine. So fairly exciting. You can see that the block, we have sensors that will allow you to see the blocked devices. And then we also have the ability to audit this and send this elsewhere. So that's another part that if you're ready to see it, I'll show you.
Oh yeah, because I'm just thinking, this capability's been around in the industry for a while, but it's the first time Tanium's been able to do it. So what that means for other customers is now they don't have to have another tool to do that. It brings more under the umbrella of what the platform of Tanium can handle, and gives you that single pane of control then. So now you're telling me that there's audit capability. So if somebody goes to a HackerCon and brings home one of these USB devices and they say, I wonder what this would do to my work machine, and they plug it in, then what are we going to see in the logs from that?
Cool. Let me dive into it. All right. So this is, I've sent this to a SIM, right? So using Splunk as an example today, but you get device event insertions, right? You get removes, you get file blocks, you get mount blocks, right? All of this is showing up at the time. So if I want to be able to tell you exactly what time this came in, right? The users that were logged in at the time, right? I can tell you the device. All this information is available, and it's a lot of information. So if I have someone that's in here that's plugging it in, right, 5,000 times, or it's just one time. Let's say you're using a threat response and you're trying to get alerts, right, on events. Like, you can send all of this here and be able to correlate a lot of these events for endpoints. So not only are you able to get this timestamps, you're able to get who's logged in, what time it happened, the computer name. Like, it's a lot of information, and it gets pretty granular. So
I'm thinking also like for support desk, right? So like somebody says, now I'm getting blocked, but this device is legit and I've got approval to use it. And once they've established that, then you could use the device IDs that come up here to help create that policy, I'm guessing.
Oh yeah, definitely. So you get, it's a wealth of information. This is pretty much everything that you'd get from an endpoint that's usable to be able to block this. So, or to allow it. You can look at device manager, right? You can use command line. You can get, there's so many ways to get this information and allow users access to what it is that they're looking for if they have approval to use these devices. So yeah, it's a wealth of information.
I've got a couple questions for you then. So we've got these new policy types. We've got the CSP, got a lot of new things going on here. How do I know if this is in my environment? What do I need to be able to use this? Let's say I'm watching this video and I'm saying, finally, Tanium's got this. How do I know if I have it? What's required?
All that's required is that you own enforce. That's it. As you have, if you have the module in your environment, enhanced policy management for Windows, and also USB device removable storage, it comes with Enforce. So there's nothing, no additional licensing. This is all built in to make sure that the experience that our users are looking for is there. So it's nothing new.
Okay. So if you are licensed for Enforce today, it's already active in your environment. Is that like for on-prem? If I've updated to the latest Enforce, it's already
On-prem,
there as well,
yep,
as well as
on-prem,
cloud.
on
All
cloud,
right. Good.
yep, yep.
And so I'll throw you a curveball. So we're talking about USB removable storage. What about like SD cards and micro SD cards? Does that count here?
Yeah.
Are we blocking those yet?
So we're not blocking them just yet. Right now, it's just anything that's connecting via USB as a removable storage. But there are some things that we're working on that I think will show up soon. So just stay tuned.
Okay. So we've got more coming in this area. That's
Oh, yeah.
good to know. I kind of knew that going in, right? We're always making new cool things, and so it's on the way. So, as far as resources, if people are wanting to learn more, Kofi, where can they go to find more information on what you talked about today?
For sure, for sure. So the first thing is we'll have some community articles that will be present with all of this information, right? Trying to deep dive so that you can take a look at this and understand what's going on in the background. In addition to that, we'll have some videos as well, kind of just outlining what this looks like, so you can take a step-by-step walk through there. We have our user docs. So if you go to docs.tanium.com and you look at the Enforce page, you'll see the list of the policies there, troubleshooting, anything that you need to be able to get there. And then last but not least, our TAMs, right? Like our TAMs, our support teams, like everyone has been taking a look at this, has been excited for this. And so you can reach out to them if you have any questions, and we'll be more than glad to make sure that you're taken care of.
Well, Kofi, thanks for this tour today. Anything else before we wrap up?
Yeah, so we have a couple of different things that are coming fairly soon, and I'm not going to give too much, but we're talking about Mac device management, which is it's in public beta today, and so if you haven't seen it, please reach out to the team. We also have user policies that are coming up. I mean, I'm not telling too much. Actually, maybe I can just relax a bit. But there's a lot of exciting things coming to Enforce. We are partnering with our customers, right, to make sure that we're meeting their needs. So if there's anything that you have, any type of feedback, any type of questions, please reach out to us. You can reach out to me. You can reach out to the TAM team. You can reach out to the support center. Anybody that you can just send an email out to. Just reach out to us, and we'll be able to get you squared away. But a lot of exciting things coming, and I'm really I can't wait to show you all.
Well, thanks for this update on what's new in Tanium Enforce today, Kofi. We hope that you've enjoyed this tour to see these new capabilities in the realm of Windows policy management. So like Kofi said, you can go to docs.tanium.com or community.tanium.com, where you can always find the documentation and the discussion for how to use these features effectively. So thank you for joining us on this episode of Tanium Tech Talks. And until next time, go Tanium.